Good afternoon. Scott Campbell, and the fourth English video in a series, being a Christian pastor in French Quebec. Today, I want to follow up with a major difference that appears between the Roman Catholic Church and its teachings, as I learned about them in Quebec, and the Evangelical Church and its teachings. And the subject is baptism, but in a sense, before baptism, the idea of conversion, at least for evangelicals. Basically, what I learned in Quebec, some of it obviously I knew before coming, is that the Roman Catholic Church, when it sprinkled babies and declared that they had become part of the family of God, the Roman Catholic Church taught people that you were infused with the Spirit at that time, and you became a member of the family of God. And then what you needed to do was to go through certain stages of, quote, growth. So the baby would begin to grow at age 5 or 6, go to First Communion, later 11 or 12 go through confirmation, and then of course marriage, kind of go through the 7 sacraments, go through confession. And each one of these steps, of course, was seen as conferring God's grace, His love, His favor on the person. And of course, the faith, at least at the start in all of this, would have been the Roman Catholic faith of the parents, who said and answered the questions about their belief for, of course, the baby. In passing, I myself, though not raised as a Roman Catholic, I was sprinkled as well before I was conscious. Well, I was conscious, but at a very, very young age in the Episcopalian Church. And so, versus how do we start among evangelical Christians? Evangelical Christians believe that the Christian life starts when a person who arrives at the age of reason or older has a understanding about who the person of Christ is. And they understand that Christ is God. They understand that Christ has come to earth. They understand his basic teachings. They need to understand, most importantly, I would think, about his death for our sin that has separated us from God, and then Christ's death that wiped that sin away for those who then believe in him, put their trust in him, and Christ will then join them to this relationship with God. He will do that by coming into our lives through his Holy Spirit. So the whole Trinity is involved in the start of the Christian life, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we actually are indwelt by the Spirit of God. And then from that point, once we have met Christ in that way, in that clear way, we then are called to show that relationship through baptism. Now, the New Testament, overwhelmingly, the indications are overwhelmingly clear that baptism should be by immersion. And that immersion is significant in all that it signifies and symbolizes. It's a very powerful sign of our Christian life. We of course go down into the water, which signifies that we die to our old life. Obviously, we don't literally die to our old life until we die physically and are taken to be with God. But it does say we are dying. We are dying to our old life. And we want to be joined to Christ as he was on the cross, died to sin. And then, as we come out of the water, we are resurrected to new life, to living the life of Jesus Christ. And that, too, is a huge difference. The Roman Catholic is urging people to follow Christ, to live like Christ, but there's not a clear experience, whether we call it conversion or we call it born again. All of these terms are biblical. There's not a clear salvation or regenerational experience that a person knows they've been indwelt by Christ. And therefore, often what's happening is people are being encouraged to follow Christ without, in fact, his strength, his spirit, without being regenerated, without having his spirit joined to our human spirit, which of course will just lead to frustration on the part of the person trying to live like Christ. So this is a critical aspect and a difference. Truly, much of what took place in Quebec was salvation by works. You would save yourself through your suffering or by your bonne action, which are your bea, your good works. That will save you. Whereas obviously Ephesians chapter 2 verses 8 and 9 make it clear that we're saved by Christ through our faith, and it's grace. It's not based on our works. In fact, God doesn't want us boasting, and we can't boast because he has done the work. And then out of that relationship, we then begin to live a Christian life. Ephesians 2:10 says that, in fact, God has prepared good works for us to carry out. But it all starts with being indwelt by his Spirit, being forgiven, coming to a true relationship with Christ. So this whole area was critical, and we had to teach our people that. And of course, they had to be, quote, rebaptized. But as I said to them, it wasn't biblically founded. What you lived, what your parents wanted for you was a good thing. But now that you have an understanding, it's better to obviously move through, declare yourself openly a follower of Jesus through baptism. So thank you for being with me one more time, and we will move on to talk about other aspects.